Great day for music. Our church is blessed with so much talent, and we are so indeed appreciative. All right, junior high, senior high, correct? All right, you're up. These laid on my desk forever. Now they've laid on the organ forever. And Bud Blandingham, here's your ordination certificate. And Jared, here's yours. So if you guys want to come and get these, please take them with you. Been very glad to have them on board. Let's see, we ordained them 10 months ago. It's about time we got these to them. And thank you, Bud. Today I'm going to conclude the series. I'm sure some of you are glad that this series have come to an end, but I'm going to conclude the series. I've enjoyed it. Many of you have responded to it very well. Thank you so very much. The rewards of waiting. The series has been waiting on God. I'm going to talk a little bit about the rewards of waiting on God. Can you remember a time when you had to wait on something? Let me take you back just a little bit, if I may. Wait a second, I got one more to turn on here. Now I got green. All right. The rewards of waiting. Let me take you back just a little bit. How many of you, now some of you are so old you may not remember this, but let's try. How many of you remember whenever you had to wait for Christmas to get here? Just couldn't wait for that to arrive. Remember those days? Now there's 4 or 5 of you that can remember that. Yeah, you know, and it's about February and you think Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming. You're looking forward to it. This is one that was always good for me. How many of you can remember waiting for the end of school? It'll come. It will eventually get here, sure enough. And we have great hopes for that. Then I couldn't wait for summer baseball to start. I was always excited to play baseball in the summer, and I just couldn't wait for that to happen. And then I got to looking forward to basketball season, but there was a problem with basketball season. Anyone know what that was? School had started. Then the next move was to look for Christmas break. I think they call it a semester break today, but back then it was a Christmas break. We couldn't wait to get out of school for a Christmas break. Then the next one that come to my mind that I could hardly wait for the rewards of was turning 16. I was so excited about being 16, I just never did get over it. I've enjoyed it all my life. Getting those driver's license and how special they were and how important they were. Then high school graduation. I don't know about anyone else, but while I'm standing in graduation, I'm looking to make sure there's a diploma in there. And I was real pleased there was. It wasn't signed, but it was in there. Then we couldn't wait to turn 21. I'm not going to tell you why you couldn't wait to turn 21. That's somebody else's job. Then there was your first job. That was pretty exciting. Your first child. Your first home. All of those were exciting things that we looked forward to. We could hardly wait. But it seems that they were worth waiting for. But we don't like to wait. We like instant gratification. We want it to happen right now. That stuff of waiting, I don't know who that's for, but that's not too good. Most of us are very impatient. If you're doing your outline, most of us are very impatient. We've never wanted to wait on anything. Never been too excited about it. And most of us still don't. But there's rewards for waiting. Now let me give you an idea of a reward for waiting. Let's go back to that one of Christmas. You couldn't hardly wait for Christmas to get here. You may have had one of those calendars where you were marking each day. Just couldn't hardly wait. But while you're thinking about Christmas and while you're anticipating it coming, what takes place? Well, you get to thinking, maybe I better buy Mom and Dad something, or Grandpa and Grandma. And then you get to thinking how much you want to do something for them. And you kind of turn the focus from what you're going to get to being able to give something. I was going through some stuff the other day, and I've still got, Michelle owes me about 3 car washes. She had written this note, I will wash your car. I still have that. I will be collecting now that I found it. I guess it didn't have any expiration date, so I'm going to go with it. Yeah, then you get excited about being able to give something, but you would have missed that if it hadn't been for waiting on Christmas. I've got a ringing. Does anyone else hear the ringing, or is it just my ears? Okay. I got hit hard the other day, so maybe my ears are just ringing. All right, so you get the idea. Today we're going to conclude that series. We're going to bring it to an end. When we wait on God, folks, some good things can happen. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about some of the blessings that we can have by waiting on God. The very first thing I want to talk about is waiting develops spiritual discipline. Waiting develops spiritual discipline. Many Christians do not have any spiritual discipline. Now we know that. Now what's spiritual discipline? Well, if something else gets in the way, then that's what we do. If there's something else that is more important, then that's what we do. That we need spiritual discipline. Each one of us should be working to make our life better with God, that we're more focused on what He's wanting, more desirous of what He wants for us. And when God doesn't, if we don't have spiritual discipline, when God doesn't act on the timetable that we have, then we get discouraged and we start blaming God because we weren't disciplined to wait on Him. Today I want to talk just a little bit about some of the blessings that you might have in waiting. If you'd go to Psalms, the 40th Psalm, and we're going to use the first 8 verses, it's going to say this. I waited patiently. I waited patiently right off the bat for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to the Lord. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. Blessed is the man who makes the Lord his trust, who does not look to the proud, to those who turn aside to false gods. Many, O Lord, my God, are the wonders you have done, the things you planned for us. No one can recount to you. Where I speak and I tell of them, they would be too many to declare. Sacrifice and offering you did not desire, but my ears you have pierced. Burnt offering and sin offerings you did not require. Then I said, here I am, I have come. It is written about me in the scroll. I desire to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart. What can we learn today about spiritual discipline? The first thing I think we need to make sure that we have gotten out of this series is that we trust God. That we trust God. So I want each of you to start thinking about the spiritual discipline that you need to be developing, and it's in trusting God. And the one thing that we have to note with that, and this is my side note, God is faithful. I can trust Him. One of the things I have to learn as I am waiting for Him to act in my life is that God is faithful. He is not going to forget me or forsake me, the Scripture says. I can trust what He has said. He says that He has something for me to do. I can trust that. I can put my confidence in that. So one of the spiritual disciplines that each of us need to work on in our lives, everyone here is trusting God. Now it's not easy to trust God. It's not always easy to put that $10 in the box, or that $50 or that $1,000, whatever you put in. It's not always easy to put that in. But I have to trust God. So do I just walk up and put something in the offering? I hope you don't. Wow, what's the preacher saying? No, I hope it's been something that you have discussed with God. I hope it's been something that you've committed to prayer. God, I want to stretch. I want to be able to do more. I want to be able to participate more. I want to be able to help financially more. But I want to spend some time talking to Him about it before I just jump in. Before I just jump head first into water that may be this deep. I want to know that I'm getting in a place where I'm putting my trust in God, where I can actually have that trust that, I'm not going to be hungry. God's going to take care of it. Folks, that's the kind of trust I want you to start developing in your spiritual discipline. I want you to have that trust that if I step out of the boat, I'm not going to sink. I want you to have that trust that He is going to save your soul. Do you know, one of the most disheartening things for me as a minister is whenever you tell me, well, I think I'll be saved. What do you mean you think? Don't you know? I know that if I'm doing what God has asked me to do, He has promised to be faithful. I've got to trust that. Instead of just thinking about it, I've got to trust that He's going to do that. So the very first thing I want you to work on in your conclusion of this series is waiting develops spiritual discipline. And one of my disciplines is to learn to trust God with everything I have. I trust Him with my soul. The next thing is patience. Patience. Wow, this one's good. We're not a patient people. No, we like that instant gratification. I want it now. Patience. I hate to fish. I see we got we got Andy and Opie up there, I think. I hate to fish. Fish are the slowest animal in the world. And if they're biting on my hook, they stop. I can't fish. It takes more patience than I want to give it. See, sometimes patience doesn't come easy, does it? Got anything that you're really impatient about? I know most of you hate to sit in a doctor's office. How can a doctor make you have an appointment at 10 o'clock and you get in 2 o'clock tomorrow? It don't make sense. Have you ever felt like you've sat there all day long and you're thinking, where did he go? What happened to him? Patience. We got to have that kind of patience in our life. Well, my patience with things around me is not always the best. I don't need any references. You know that. But my patience with God has got to grow. I've had to learn to be patient and know that God has not forgotten me. There's been a time or two whenever I've been in a doctor's office, I'm sure they forgot me. And you're stepping back in that little cubicle, no windows, no nothing. And you think, how come they turned all the lights out? They've gone home. You ever feel that way? Yeah. I may not always be good. I open my door, make sure they remember I'm in there. Yeah. We all have those times here on earth. It's when you become impatient with God that I'm talking about. Sometimes we get so impatient with God. We'll ask God for something, and when He doesn't do it right now, we're mad at Him. We're just fed up with Him. I don't know if He's hearing my prayers. You ever said that? Ever had anyone say it to you? I don't know if He's hearing what I've got to say. I'm talking about patience with God. Now, some of you are never real patient with me, and that's okay. I've gotten used to it, and you've got used to me ignoring it. So, I'm not talking that patience. I'm talking that patience with God. Whenever I go to God in prayer, have you ever had to just stay in your prayer life longer than you wanted to on a topic? Where you were looking for relief from something? And maybe God is saying, just wait. Just sit tight. I'm coming. I want to give you some time to think about it. I want you to be able to work on this yourself. I'm not far from you. I'm going to be close. And we're patiently waiting on Him. Now, whenever we patiently wait on God, what do we find? Man, I'm blessed. It's only whenever I jump out of the boat and run ahead of Him that I'm not blessed. If I can just patiently wait for Him to respond on my earthly timetable, I seem to do okay. So I want you to learn trust. I want you to learn patience in your time of waiting. I want you to learn humility. Humility. Humility is a tough thing for us. We Americans are a proud people. Proud people. We're proud to be Americans. And we have every right to be. There's a lot of things about life that we're proud of. I want to talk about humility with God. Folks, what is humility with God? I'm not in charge. He is. That's whenever I have to humble myself to know that God is going to see me through it. Now that goes back to the trust issue. It helps me with the patience, but I have to humble myself and know that I've been asking God to help me with some things in life. I have to humble myself and know that I'm not in charge of those things. He is in charge. I have to humble myself to know that sometimes God humbles me and helps me get to a place where I need to be, where I can serve Him better. So in our time of waiting, humility is one of those things that we have to work on. The psalmist was telling us of these things. The things you plan for us, no one can recount to you. Where I speak and tell of them, there would be too many to declare. Oh, He humbles me to know that His greatness is so much greater than any other greatness. That His ability is so much greater than anyone else's ability. Oh, how humbling. I want to know about courage. Courage. So in my time of waiting, my spiritual discipline, I must develop courage. With God, I can face anything. With God, I can face anything. Maybe. That cat on a ledge, he doesn't know God. With God, I can face anything. Now, I want all of you to think about some of the things you're facing in life right now. Some of you are facing some bad things, and I know it. Some of you are facing some really tough things that's coming up, and you know it. With God, take this time of waiting and prepare to face them. That He will give us that courage to stand firm with Him. Some of us are facing difficult times. There's things that are coming in our world that I find extremely frightful. And I hope that you do as well, because there's some extremely frightful things coming. There's some extremely frightful things coming to the church. And it's going to separate those who have got the courage of God from those who are just attending. I want you to be working on your courage. That we as a congregation will stand firm and strong whenever they try to take freedoms away from us of spreading the gospel message. I want you to stand firm. And to do that, this time of waiting for those things to come, it's not political, folks, that I'm telling you. I'm telling you it's the devil at work. And he's taking Christianity on head first right now. Just look worldwide and tell me I'm wrong. Just look and say, no, those things aren't happening. They are. And are we going to have the courage to stand and say, no, we will, in the name of Jesus, do these things. We will continue to march forward. We will continue to evangelize. Folks, we have to do them. So this time of waiting, find courage in the Lord. Now, how are you going to find that courage in the Lord? I want you to think about maybe the last time that you had an opportunity to witness and you didn't. Why didn't you? We got to have that courage. And finally, I want you to have vision. Vision. God opens my eyes and shows me a vision that He has put before me. Many, it says, will see and fear, but blessed is the man who makes the Lord his trust. My vision must be spiritual vision. So waiting on the Lord will help me to develop spiritual discipline. We have to have discipline in our lives, or we don't function. It is no different spiritually. If you do not have discipline with your finances, you're in a mess. If you don't have discipline in your home when you're raising children, you're not in charge. If you don't have discipline in your life, you will fail. And it is no different spiritually. If you have not started developing spiritual discipline, You may be here next year and you may not in church. It takes a spiritual discipline to stay the course. So I encourage you to do that. The next thing is waiting provides spiritual opportunities. While we are on this life's journey, we look for opportunities. We look for better jobs. We look for more money. We look for investments to make. And many times, we will miss good opportunities because of two things. One, we're either too busy in what we're doing, or we've set too tight. It's no different with spiritual things. Busyness often makes us miss opportunities. In our spiritual life, you can miss opportunities to grow if you're either setting too firm or if you're too busy at other stuff. Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 and 8 will say this: Ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be opened. The door will be opened, folks, in your opportunity. Your spiritual opportunities, it provides for you. So I want you to think about spiritual opportunities that you have. You want to serve God. You're open to it. The place that God, let's take preachers for an example. I've seen this many times, and you probably have as well. I believe that God, if a preacher is being God-led, now there's other ways to lead preachers, but if you are leading, if God is leading your life, God may have a place that He is wanting you to serve. We hear ministers say all the time, well, He's called me to this location or that location, that God wants me in the mission field or God wants me doing this. We hear that. So, if we believe that, and the opportunity has come, God has got to have that preacher prepared for that job. Not everyone will walk in and follow a minister of 30 years and do well. That's been seen across the board. But He's prepared someone to do that someday. Don't get your hopes up, I'm not leaving. He will prepare someone to do that someday. It will happen. It's just the way it is. But God will have a right person prepared. Now it's going to be up to our leaders as well as that right person to make themselves available. Now God doesn't always make those places readily available. Sometimes, let's think about the history of Latonia Christian Church. We have 3 ministers that cover 100 years almost. Brother Runyon, Brother Hill, and old Mike. All right? So 2 brothers and an old. We got 3 that cover almost 100 years. Do you know we're much more receptive to a long ministry because we've had those other 2? So God has prepared for that to happen. God had made that to happen. He allowed it to happen. Now, He had to prepare the people to be able to do that. God definitely has something for you to do. And He has been preparing you for it. And you say, well, where is it? Maybe He has not opened that door yet. Maybe there is someone that is ahead of you that He is using to prepare for your coming. To prepare a way so that when you come. John the Baptist prepared the way for the Lord. And whenever the Lord came, He was able to do great things. God is preparing for you, folks. He has something for you to do. There is an open door that is either now or is coming. And you must be prepared for it. So waiting provides you that opportunity to prepare spiritually for a spiritual opportunity. It allows you to get ready for that spiritual opportunity that God is going to give you. Each of you need to do a little inventory in your life. Maybe it's about public prayer. I believe more of you need to pray publicly. Maybe it's about sharing a communion meditation. I believe that more of you need to say, Mike, sign me up. We're patient people. We'll work with you. I think that is very important. I think that there's an opportunity that is continually there for you to grow and to develop. This is your time of waiting to let that happen. So this whole series has been saying, prepare for spiritual opportunities. Spiritual opportunities. Spiritual opportunities are of the greatest importance. Waiting, number 3, brings spiritual blessings. Often Christians will miss the joy that God desires for them. They're good people. They have good intentions. They're always trying to do good, but you never feel blessed in your life. That would describe some of you here today. That you just feel like, Lord, I'm giving, I'm doing, but I'm not blessed. I don't feel blessed. I want you to take this waiting opportunity to find that God does have something very special for you. He wants to give you a spiritual blessing. While we're waiting, one of my favorite passages is Psalms 46:10. I'm going to use it again. It says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Be still and know. Contentment, if you're doing your outline. I want you to become content in the Lord. Now, I don't want you to become content in your service, but I want you to be content with God. Always searching, always looking for just the right, whatever it is. And we say, I can't find any contentment in God. And folks, when you don't find contentment in God, you're an unhappy Christian. You're an unhappy Christian. I want you to be a happy Christian. I want you to ask a different question. I don't want you to be necessarily content in life. I hope that you are, but you may not be. You may not be content in your life. But are you content in the Lord? Are you content with what God is wanting to do in your life? You may not be content with your job. You may not be content with the way your family is going. You may not be content with your finances. But are you content with God? Have you found a safe place there? Where with God I know I'm doing okay. That I know that I'm going in a direction that He wants me to go. That I can find some contentment there. For years I went through being not content in the Lord. And I would find that I was always praying, God, open doors for us. Now, I've never wanted to leave Latonia. So everyone be aware of that. That's not what the prayer was about. I was always asking Him, God, help us with the size of our church or our giving. Expand our ministry. Help us to understand the importance of it. And folks, you got to be careful how you pray. I remember him praying for God to give us a bigger ministry. Bigger ministry. We have the ministry of a big church in the things that we do. Now, you'd have to really be involved in churches to understand that, but we do. And I prayed, God, give us more opportunities. I found that I become busier than I wanted to be by praying this. I minister to more non-church people than any minister I know as I ask God to do this. Where's opportunities? We are blessed with opportunities. Jerry did a funeral this week that we were called about. Charlie has done numerous funerals for me through the years, through this year. And whenever we are called to a funeral, there's something you need to know about that. We represent Latonia Christian Church. They know where we're a part of. But there's something else you need to realize. Why did they call us? Why did they call us? Because their family didn't have a preacher. Because they didn't have a minister that they knew to contact. Doesn't mean they're bad people. Not casting any judgment on any of it. But see, we prayed for more opportunity. We prayed for an opportunity to witness to the lost. We prayed for an opportunity to reach the ones that weren't in church. And lo and behold, there it was. God provides opportunities, folks, and those become spiritual blessings. I am so blessed by being able to do these ministries. Do you know by doing the ministry with the funerals, I make more hospital calls than you can imagine, because they'll call and say, put Mike Sweeney down as our minister when they go into the hospital. And they'll call and say, Bill Jones is here. We don't have any Bill Jones in our congregation. And I get there, and sure enough, I did Bill's mother's funeral. But Bill identified, called Latonia Christian and Mike Sweeney. Opportunity, folks. God wants to bring spiritual blessings to your life. So while you're waiting, look for them. Look for them. Look for those opportunities to be content in what you're doing for God. Most of you need to work on this. Most all of us do. But I want to be content that what I'm giving God is my best. Not partial. I want to give Him the best that I can. And then I'm content. If I'm going to give Him a little bit of what I'm capable of, I'm not content. But if I'm giving Him all that I'm capable of, I live a pretty content life. Oh, I still have wants and desires this world throws before me. I still desire to have another Mustang. I'm not content not having it. I still desire to have another Mustang. I think that's the one. Yeah, you know, we have those wants and desires, but I'm really content in the Lord. Whenever I get up in the morning, I can really feel good about what's coming because I'm giving God my best. That's what I want you to do. Now, you're not going to have my job, but you're going to have your job. Are you taking Jesus to work with you? I'm not saying you knock everyone in the head that walks by and say, let me tell you about Jesus. I'm saying you're going to be called upon to put your faith into practice. That's when you become content with Jesus. Another one of the spiritual blessings that we have is peace. John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not be afraid. My peace I leave with you. Sometimes life, folks, is just overwhelming. And there's times that I find life overwhelming, just like you do. There's times that we're trying to put all the pieces together, and I'm trying to think, how's this going to work? And I just find myself completely overwhelmed with it. I've found that this ministry that we're planning to start the first of the year with reaching out to families who have had drug issues, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, I'm recruiting people to help me, and I'm so glad. And Jerry's got plans that we're going to talk about tomorrow, and others are working on plans for me so that we can get this done. Sometimes I'm just overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with the work that we see. I'm overwhelmed with the need for Christianity in Latonia. I love Latonia. I worry about our neighbors. I hope that you do. They're important to us. But by waiting on God, I've come at peace with Him. Oh, I'm not at peace with the world around me. It has great needs. But I'm at peace with God. God and I feel good about it. You know, it's not like I wake up in the morning and think, oh no, what's God going to have me do today? Or am I going to please God today? No, I wake up and it's a good day. It's a beautiful day in downtown Latonia, folks. It's a beautiful day when you're at peace with God. I trust His love and I trust His forgiveness. And because of that, I'm at peace. Oh, have I done things that need forgiven? Have I done things that need forgiven? And I trust God that He is faithful to His word, and it gives me peace. Well, it was worth waiting for, folks. I'm going to tell you this. My Christianity didn't start out that way. And if you've been at this very long, and if you're having the blessings that I am, yours didn't either. But you can get there. But not unless you prepare for it. While you're waiting, you have to prepare for God to do these things in your life. They're not just going to be poured out upon you. You've got to be preparing for that relationship with God. It's worth waiting on. Most of you would probably agree that the best things in life are worth waiting on. And God's the best thing I know. Changed my life. Made my life worth living. Has He yours? So as this series ends, some of you will continue to wait on God, and that's fine, because God has not called you to that specific ministry yet. But that doesn't mean He hasn't called you to start preparing for it. Preparing for it. Whenever you were 16 years old, back when most of you were 16, you could go down to the driver's license place, pay your $10, someone take you down there, sign for you. If you could pass the driver's test and not scare the driving instructor to death, you would get your license. How many of you didn't get your license? Don't raise your hand. You'd get your license. Today, you can't do that when you're 16. You have to get a permit. You have to start preparing to drive. You have to have some time of preparation for this, to get ready for it. So why would our spiritual life be any different? You're waiting on God's blessings. And God's saying, just keep waiting, because when you are ready, He will deliver. We're going to have our hymn of decision. God is waiting as well for you to get a hold of your life, folks. There's great things to be done, but we have to realize it's worth waiting for. Will you please stand as we have our invitation?